All right, so this is a lesson on area of composite figures. This is lesson 6 in chapter 9. Now, I'm going to try to get through it without being interrupted by Lizzie and Jack barking their heads off. So I might have to pause if they keep barking. Anyway, let's start with some vocabulary. We're going to start with what the heck is a composite figure. So this says a composite figure is a figure made of two or more two-dimensional figures. The composite figure shown to the right is made of two rectangles. So it says, draw a composite figure made of a rectangle and a right triangle on the graph below. So if I were doing that, and you could draw your own, but I would just draw kind of a rectangle here and maybe a triangle. That would be an example of a composite figure. Now, if I did it without separating lines, it might look like this. So I may have... and it's actually a trapezoid when I do that. But that trapezoid is made up of a rectangle and a triangle. And the whole thing is a composite figure. So, going on to the next page. You have to find the area of composite figures. And this can be tricky. But we did this a little bit in the past with PSSA powers, and we are splitting figures up into their smaller shapes. So, going down here, let's start with example 1. So in example 1, it says, find the area of the figure at the right. So take a look at this funky figure. So this is made up of all sorts of things. But notice how they split it. They split it into a rectangle and a triangle. So I'm going to show you here. I know you can follow the steps below, but I'm going to show you actually how you would do this. So first, you want to do something called decomposing the figure. That means break it into its shapes. So I'm first going to find the area of that triangle, and I'm going to use area is half times base times height, and then I'm going to find the area of the rectangle. And remember, rectangles are easy. That's just length times width. So let's start with the triangle. So the triangle has a base right here. I'm going to have to figure out. Now I do know it's 4 inches high, so h is 4. And as far as figuring out the base, here's what I know. This whole width of the rectangle is 10, so this whole red part is 10. But I don't need this 6 part, so if I take the 10, subtract 6, I'm left with 4 right here. So the triangle, the base of the triangle is actually 4. And if I do half times 4 times 4, I get 8. So the triangle is 8. Now I'm going to focus on the rectangle. That's just length times width, and I have 6 times 10. So 6 times 10 is 60. My area of my rectangle is 60. To get the total area, I need to add those two numbers together, and I get 68 square inches. So you want to break your shape apart, find the area of the easier shapes, and add them together. So I'm going to kind of guide you through problem A, but I'm going to make you do it here. So, and there's lots of ways you can actually split A. You can make it really hard if you want to be weird, but I wouldn't want to do that. So here is my recommendation. I would recommend for A, decomposing this shape into a triangle and a rectangle. I think right here is a nice triangle, and that would be half times base times height, and I've got a nice rectangle right here. So I'm going to help you with the rectangle. You are going to do, or I'm going to help you with the triangle. You are going to do the rectangle because that's easy. And then you're going to add them together to get your answer. So let's start with a triangle. First, we need the base and the height. So right here, let's talk about the height. The height of the triangle is going to be from here to here. Now here is what I know. I know this entire side is 10. But I don't need the red part. And the red part is 4 high. I can steal that from over here. So if this is 4, I know 4 plus 6 is 10. But remember, I don't need the 4. So 6 is the height. Now, as far as, I'm going to switch to blue, the base. Remember, this whole width is 12. I can steal that from here. But I only need right here. So I'm going to take the 12. I'm going to get rid of the 8. 12 minus 8, and that leaves me with 4. So the base of it is 4. Can I still use my eraser? Sometimes this eraser is a little weird. Alright, so I should have, that should be a 6. Okay, and if you solve that, half of 4 is 2. 2 times 6 is 12. So the area of the triangle is 12. Now the rectangle you're going to do, length times width. So what I want you to do is pause the video, figure out the area of the rectangle using length times width, and then add that area with the 12 and see if you get your answer. Go. All right, let's see how you did. So length times width, my width is 12, times my length is 4, and that's 48. If I add the 12 for the triangle with the 48 together, I should have 60 square feet. So I'm going to write that right over here. Okay, now are you ready for B? Okay, B, I'm going to show you some options here, and then I'm going to let you do it. So B, you can decompose a couple different ways. Here's way one. You can decompose it right here. And this is a nice trapezoid. And this is a nice square or rectangle. That's one option to do. Okay, I'll give you another option. Let me get rid of all those marks. Here's another option. I don't like this one as much, but I'm sure you can do it. You can say this is a weird trapezoid, and this is a long, skinny rectangle. That's another option. Or I'm going to give you the advanced option, and only do this if you understand what I'm talking about. You can pretend that this whole thing is a rectangle. So you can find the area of that rectangle. And then you can find the area of this missing triangle and subtract that missing triangle from the rectangle's area. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't do that, but that's kind of an advanced way to do it. All right, so what I want you to do, I want you to see if you can find the area for B. Pause the video, start it when you're done, and we'll see what you get. All right, so here's how I am going to go over it. I am going to find the area of this trapezoid there, and I'm going to use the formula half times height times base 1 plus base 2 to do it. And then I'm going to find the area of what looks like a square. It might be a rectangle. Either way, it's going to be length times width. And then I'm going to add those suckers together. If you did it in a different way, you should still get the same area. So let me start with the rectangle since it's kind of easy. All right, I see the width is 7, the length is 7. Don't use the 10 because the 10 is this whole side. 7 times 7 is 49. So the area of that square is 49 square meters. That part's done. Easy. Now, let's try the trapezoid. So I have my formula written down, and I'm going to see if I can find my dimensions. Now, I see my base. Here's one base, and here's another base because they're parallel. My height must be this side here because it forms a right angle. So let me get my bases. I'm going to start with the 5. We'll call that base 1. Base 2, I'm going to steal from the bottom here, which is 7. Don't forget the half. And now we only have to figure out the height. Now check this out. Remember how I said this whole side is 10? Well, this is 7 because we have it from here. So if I take 10, take away this 7, I'm left with 3 for the height. So I have half times 3 times 5 plus 7 in parentheses. So then all I have to do is type that in my calculator, and I get 18. So the area of that trapezoid is 18. Don't forget to add these together. And if I add 49 plus 18, I get 67 square meters. All right, if you had that right, you're kicking butt and taking names. Time to go to the next page. Now, real world problems, lots of fun. So let me show you example 2 kind of quickly. Example 2 is the same deal, just more put in a real world, and it's like a pool. So you have to find the area of the pool's floor. Now look how it's made up of. It's like one big rectangle, except for this little trapezoid here. So what you'll see is they found the area of the rectangle, 28 times 14. 28 times 14 is 392. And then the trapezoid, remember it's half times the height times base 1 plus base 2. So here's base 1, 4. Here's base 2, 6. See them here? Base 1, base 2. The height is the distance between them, which right here, you see they're saying is 2. So there's my 2, there's my half. Half times 2 times 4 plus 6 is 10. So if the rectangle is 392, 10 is that little step area, add them together, you get 402. So C looks like the side of a barn. Now be careful, I always know that people think that this dotted line is decomposing it for you. So you don't have to split it there. This is just saying how high the whole barn is. I will tell you when I do this, what I'm going to do is I am going to split it here into that trapezoid and then the rectangle down below. But I want you to pause it, do it on your own, and restart it to see if you're right. Go. Okay, so let's start with the rectangle. You just need length times width. I'm not even going to write it down. So my width is 36. My length is 14. And 36 times 14 is 504. I'm going to write that in there. That's my rectangle. I'm done with that. I'm going to focus all my brain energy on this stinking trapezoid. So I already have the formula written out. Looks like my dogs are about to bark. Let me yell at them. I'm going to pause it. Okay, I just yelled at them. So let's start with half times the height. Now, remember, this is base 1, this is base 2. My height is going to be right here. Now, if you remember, this entire height is 20. But we don't want the whole thing. We only want this little part. So if the whole thing is 20, I'm going to take away this part, which is 14. And 20 minus 14 is 6. So that means my height is 6. Now, base 1 and base 2, base 1's easy, that's 20. And base 2, I'm going to steal right there, it's 36. So then, all I have to do is type that in. And if I type it in, half times 6, parentheses, 20 plus 36, close parentheses, you get 168. So that means the area of the trapezoid is 168. Add 168 with the 504. Don't forget that last step because people do that all of the time. And you should have the answer of 672 square feet. Okay, now we're going to go down to do some overlapping figures. So I'm going to show you how this one works. Okay, to find the area of overlapping figures, here's what you got to think of. This, in example 3, is made up of 2 rectangles that are kind of overlapping. So this might be hard to imagine. So if we can find the area, we're going to find the area of that one. Then we're going to find the area of that one and add them together. And that might seem like the answer, but here is the tricky part. You see this rectangle in the middle? That, since it's overlapping, we have to subtract that away from the area of that from the total area because part of it's covered, so we don't need it. It's kind of hard to understand without seeing it actually happen in person. So I'm going to find the area of this one and add it with the area of this one. Then I'm going to find the area of this and subtract it and get the answer. So I'll show you kind of quickly so then we can do one together. Let me go back and delete all of that junk. Start from scratch. Okay, so the area of, maybe I'll do some shading. The area of this one here is just 12 by 12. So 12 times 12 is 144. Easy enough. So now I'm going to do the area of this one. Oop, I didn't mean to do that, sorry. I want highlighter on. So the area of this one, we just have to do 15 times 12. And if I do that, I should have 180. So if I add those up, I have 4, 12, 324. But that's not the final answer because I must subtract this area of that square away. So watch how I get this one. This one's kind of tricky. So you see here how this whole side is 15. That means this whole thing is 15. They give us the 8. So if I have 15, take away 8, I'm left with 7. Now we need that's the width, we need the length. So take a look here. This whole side is 12. Or let's use this one here. This whole side is 12. But we only need, so that means from here to here is 12. But we don't need, oh, hold on, Jack is chewing my car magazine. Okay, sorry about that. So this whole thing is 12, but we don't need this part here, which is 6. So if I take 6 away from 12, I'm left with 6. So if I do 7 times 6, I get 42. And then I have to take the area of the two figures, 324, minus that middle area. And if I do that, I get 282 square centimeters. Told you it was tricky. So let's see how you do down here. I'm going to tell you what to do first. We are going to, and I'll break it down into 3 steps. We are going to find the area of that blue rectangle. So we'll call that rectangle 1. And we'll write that down there. Then we're going to find the area of rectangle 2. And we'll write it down there. And we're going to have to add those together. Then we're going to find the area of this overlapping rectangle. And we're going to have to subtract that. We'll call that rectangle 3. We're going to have to subtract that to get our final answer, which will be here. So be ready to go. So let's start with rectangle 1. Remember, this is rectangle 1, and it's 6 by 7, which is 42. Okay, now let me erase those marks to try to keep, oops, didn't mean to do that. Try to keep this clean. And now we're going to go to rectangle 2. Find the area of rectangle 2, which is 6 times 8 is 48. We add those together, and we get 90. But now, and this is where I'm going to have you pause the video, and you're going to do it in a second. You are going, let me get rid of the red there, to find the overlapping part area. So you're going to have to find the area of this, which is rectangle 3, and then you're going to subtract it from 90 and get your answer. So find the area of that black rectangle, subtract it from 90, see what you get. Pause it, restart it when you're done. Go. Alright, so this is going to be the tricky part, guys. So to find, let's say we're going to start with the width. Look at this whole thing is 6, right? That means this whole thing is 6. But we don't need this little tiny 1 right about there. So if the whole thing is 6, take away 1, that's going to leave us with 5. Now, let's see if we can get the height there. Let's see. I think I see it. This whole side here. Let me try marking it here. That whole side is 7. But we only need from here to here. We don't need this part, which is 2. So if I take 7, take away that 2, and I'm left with 5. That means 5 times 5 will get you 25. So the area of that third rectangle is 25 square feet. So all you had to do was subtract that away, and you should have 65 square feet. All right, kind of tricky. It's tough being absent if you did this one, if you were absent yesterday. Last page. This is going to be just like that last example, except they throw it in a real world situation. So I'm going to go over this one quickly. It says, Charlie and his brother Matt are neighbors in an apartment complex where they share a patio. What is the area of both apartments and the patio? So the first thing you would do is find the area of Matt's apartment, which is a rectangle, 55 by 45. 55 times 45 is 2,475 square feet. But then, let me see if I can erase this, you would find the area of Charlie's apartment. Now notice, this is going to make your life easier, Charlie's apartment is the same dimensions. 45 times 55 is 2,007, is the same thing, 2,475 feet. So if you add up both of their apartments, you do that, 2,475 plus 2,475, and you'd get this. But here is the problem. They share a patio. So by adding them together, it's like saying they each have a patio, but they only share one. So we have to actually find the area of this patio right here. I just shaded it gray, and subtract it from this number here. So let's check it out. This is the tricky part. Ready? This whole thing is 55. Take away 32, and if you do 55 minus 32, you're left with 23. Now, this other side here, this whole side is 45, but we don't need this. So if you do 45 minus 22, you're left with 23. So guess what? You do 23 times 23. 23 times 23 is 529. So this patio is 529 square feet. So you take the area of the two apartments, you subtract the 529, and you're left with the total area, 4,421 square feet, which is right here. All right. Challenging, I know, but here is your job. You are going to do whatever problems you're supposed to do as part of your makeup work. I'm guessing they're the ones down here. And be ready to show them to me when you hand in your makeup work. If you have any questions, make sure you ask. Thanks, guys.